Whatever you become intensely emotional about, that's what you will create in your world. That's what you will experience of creation. So whenever you become completely absorbed in an emotional state, you are at that moment assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you will experience more of that and manifest more of that when you become emotional about something in your world. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are getting into chapter 13, acceptance. This is Neville Goddard, The Power of Awareness. And we're going to start off here with William Blake. Man's perceptions are not bounded by organs of perception. He perceives more than sense, though ever so acute, can discover. So you are not limited to your 3D world. The way that you see your world is not the real world. The real world is your imagination, and that's how you create. And through your feeling states with your imagination, and when you are completely absorbed in an emotional state, that's what you will experience in your 3D world. Everything is within, and that's what Neville Goddard covers right here. Neville Goddard says, however much you seem to be living in a material world, you are actually living in a world of imagination. So your world, your material world that you see, all the tangible objects that you see, is not real. That is a hologram projected from inside of you, from your imagination projected outside of you. So we're going to cover that. You are actually living in a world of imagination. The outer physical events of life are the fruit of forgotten blossom times. So if you're not aware of all your feeling states, and if you're not present in that moment and controlling your feeling states and your emotional charges, then that's why you're living in a world that you're not happy with, by not monitoring your feeling states and having that control of your feeling states from within you, because that's what you're going to manifest into your world, is your habitual feeling states and the things you become emotionally charged about throughout your day and your past. And that's why your world is the way that it is, because of forgotten blossom times. That's what he's saying here, like the forgotten feeling states that you've had in the past that have created the world that you're living in now. But you can change that. We have the privilege of changing that. And that's what we're covering here, but we'd have to apply what Neville Goddard is teaching here. Okay, so results of previous and usually forgotten states of consciousness is basically what I just said. They are the ends running true of oftentimes forgotten imaginative origins. So things that you've imagined in the past, that's what has created the present world you're living in. So whenever you become completely absorbed in an emotional state, you are at that moment assuming the feeling of the state fulfilled, of that wish fulfilled. And if you persist in that completely absorbed state, emotional state, then that is what you will experience in your world. So whenever you become emotionally charged about something in your 3D world, like something bad happens and you just attach yourself to it emotionally, and you're like persistent in this feeling that this is a real thing that just happened to you, you are causing that to be recreated in your world in the future, like the forgotten blossom time. So you're creating more imaginal, emotional acts in your mind to recreate new bad things in your life when you become emotionally charged about these things. So be very careful about how you react to things in your 3D world and try to disregard them. Try to go into a meditation, and just understanding this is going to help you navigate through your world and stop creating the things that you don't want in your world, okay? So, all right, so if persistent in whatsoever you are intensely emotional about, you will experience in your world. These periods of absorption, of concentrated attention, are the beginnings of the things you harvest. All right, so you're basically, when you feel that something is real and you become emotionally charged about it, and your attention is concentrated on that, these are the beginnings of things that you will harvest in the future. You're going to manifest them. And it is in these such moments that you are exercising your creative power. When you have concentrated attention on something, on a feeling state, either being emotionally charged about something, whether it's positive or negative, that's when you're exercising your creative power. So once something really, really good happens, or you're very grateful about your life, you're concentrating your attention on all the great things that you have in your life, then you are harvesting, or you're creating better things to come in your future. That's why gratitude is so important. When you can stay in a state of gratitude, you are doing this. You are becoming emotionally charged about all the great abundant things that you have in your life, and then more things will come into your life because that's what you're creating and you're going to harvest in the future by being grateful, by being positive. So these things, the way that you navigate your world through these emotional states is very important if you're trying to manifest the world that you want. So if you find yourself being negative and becoming emotionally charged throughout your day, about negative things or bad things that have happened, or thinking about the past in bad ways, you're thinking about your past and things that have happened to you, the trauma, you're creating more of that to happen to you in the future. And by thinking that it's real, because the 3D world is just a hologram, a projection, and you make it real by feeling that it's real. When things that have happened to you in the past that you don't like and you're stuck on those emotionally, those things are being recreated in your world because you are creating that concentrated attention on those things. All right, so this is where Neville Goddard gets into mentally rehearsing something or visualizing something and making it so real that it's actually a shock to you when you come out of your imaginal act, like in the state akin to sleep, when you get into the SATs, the state akin to sleep, or into the drift, and you really completely absorb yourself in a visual scene, then you come back and it's an actual shock. That's when you've done it. That's when you've shocked that positron and then created that event. Okay, so at the end of these periods or moments of absorption, you speed from these imagined states where you have not been physically to where you were physically an instant ago. And in these periods, the imagined state is so real that when you return to the objective world and find that it is not the same as the imagined state, is an actual shock to you. So this exercise that Neville Goddard is talking about is not actually necessary to create an event, but it will actually create an event if you can get so deep in your imagined state and make it so real to you, as if it's as real to you as the forms of reality are right now to you. So in your 3D world, if you can create an imaginal scene that's this real, then it has to take place just like 3D reality. If you can make your imagined state as real as 3D reality, and then you go into this imagined state, then when you come back, it's an actual shock to you because you've been to a different world that you created in your imagination. Like every part of it, you've created it, all the senses, you've created a visual scene in the future and made it now. Then when you come back from that, you've shocked the positron, which is a positive running electron, and then you will be led to that event. And it absolutely will happen if you create that, but it's not necessary to actually get that in depth and in detail and in that concentrated moment and create all the sense. It's not necessary to create an event, but if you want to create a specific event, like you can make specific things, like really, really specific things to happen when you can create an imaginal act and make it so real, just as real as your 3D world, you can make something happen exactly like that. Like to the T, to the mark, like exactly like your imaginal act. When you shock the positron, shock time sense, and create that scene in your mind as if it's real, because it has to. Once you create something in your imagination that's just as real as your 3D world, it is real. It is real, and it will happen exactly like that. All right, so just like right here, you have seen something in imagination with such vividness that you now wonder whether the evidence of your senses can now be believed. And like Keats, you ask, was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? All right, so the shock reverses your time sense. By this is meant that instead of your experience resulting from your past, it now becomes the result of being in imagination where you have not yet been physically. So you've gone into the future, shocked the positron, created something, and you will be shifted. Your life will be shifted into this new parallel reality where what you have imagined will take place. So you can create things this way once you get this experienced. And some of you guys already out there can probably already do this, but you can get to this level, but it's not necessary to start changing your world. And you can start changing your world just by not reacting and becoming emotionally charged about things like negative things in your world, and start being emotionally charged about the positive things, and you'll start completely changing your life. And you can do this by being grateful and becoming emotionally charged about all the great things, writing down things that you have in your life right now, focused on all the great things that you have in your life that you've forgotten about. You can start being grateful about those things and become emotional charged, and you will start recreating a new future. But if you want to create something specific, like I'm talking like to the T specific, and you can get this in your imagination and create a scene just as real as 3D reality, you can actually do this. This is actually something that can be done. By this is meant instead of experiencing results from your past, it would now be the result of being in imagination. So you're going in imagination in the future where you have not been physically. In effect, this moves you across a bridge of incident to the physical realization of your imagined state. The man who at will can assume whatever state he pleases has found the keys to the kingdom of heaven. All right, so the keys are desire, imagination, and a steadily focused attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To such a man, any undesirable objective fact is no longer a reality and the ardent wish no longer a dream. And when you're able to get to this level where you can imagine anything and create something in the future, then make it so real and have a steadily focused attention on that feeling as if it's already fulfilled during this meditation, like he says here, you can create anything you want. You no longer have to worry about anything. You can change and alter and manipulate your world as you please, transfer to different parallel realities, and just push your way to ultimate success or happiness or wherever you want to lead your life to. So prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Malachi 3:10. Okay, so Neville Goddard interprets in Malachi 3:10 right here. Okay, so the windows of heaven may not be opened and the treasures seized by a strong will, but they open of themselves and present their treasures as a free gift, a gift that comes when absorption reaches such a degree that it results in a feeling of complete acceptance. So when you, like what he's talking about, when you go into your imaginal act, you make it so real that when you come back, you're actually shocked when you come back because you were in a real world in your imagination. And the real world is actually your imagination. So when you can create a scene in your imagination that's real, that is actually more real than your actual 3D world, because the real you lives in your imagination. It's not the person that you see in the mirror. It's actually the person that is in imagination that creates. And that's God that creates, because we are particles of God and Christ lives in you. Okay, so the passage from your present state to the feeling of your wish fulfilled is not across a gap. Okay, so because the fourth dimension, time and space, I mean, the past and the future they're all existent right now in the present moment. Okay, so you're not traveling anywhere, you're not going anywhere, because what you want already exists, because creation is finished. So all you have to do is connect with that, with the feeling state of becoming like emotionally charged with the feeling state of the thing that you want. So you're not moving across a gap. So you're just basically folding, if you want to have that analogy, like folding a piece of paper over and then connecting to the thing itself. You're not traveling anywhere. There is continuity between the so-called real and unreal. To cross from one state to the other, you simply extend your feelers, trust your touch, and enter fully into the spirit of what you are doing. So you must believe in it. So when you're believing in something, you're making it real. Okay, so just like your 3D world now, you step outside and you're looking around, you get in your car, you start your car, you start driving your car. That's real to you. That is real to you, and you believe that it's real. That's why it is real. It's because you believe that it's real, because all of your senses, and you're feeling things, you're touching things, you're smelling things, you're hearing things, so it becomes real to you. So when you can create something in your imagination that is that real, then it has to manifest, and you have to be led to that moment because it was that real to you. Okay, so right here, okay, so trust your feelers, trust your touch, and enter fully into the spirit of what you are imagining. All right, so we got Zechariah 4:6 here. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Assume the spirit, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you will have opened the windows to receive the blessing. To assume a state is to get into the spirit of it. Your triumphs will be a surprise only to those who did not know your hidden passage from the state of longing to the assumption of the wish fulfilled. The Lord of hosts will not respond to your wish until you have assumed the feeling of already being what you want to be. And you could do that through increments. You could start off by not reacting to the negative things in your life and start reacting to the positive things, and start understanding that your 3D reality is only real when you make it real, and you do that through your emotional charges of it. So when you become emotionally charged about something, then you're making it real in your world. Then it will be recreated in your world in the future. So you can start doing this, start changing your world very simply by not being reactive to the negative things in your world. When something very emotional happens to you and it's something that you don't like, do not become emotionally charged about that. Do not react to that. Change it up and start writing, start thinking of things that you're grateful for. Start changing your feeling state. Start focusing your attention on something entirely different. Change it up. Start being grateful. Do a gratitude list. Start imagining something or thinking of something that happened to you that was great in your life, and totally just completely disregard that. Don't become emotionally charged about those things. Only become emotionally charged about the things that you want to create more of in your life. Because when you become emotionally charged about negative things in your life, then you're telling your 3D world that you want more of that. Do you want more of that? Absolutely not. So think of that when you become emotionally charged about something in your feeling states, about negative things. Do I want more of this? And if you do, then become emotionally charged about it. But if you do not want more of that, do not become emotionally charged about it. Move on, be grateful, focus on something else that's positive in your world. All right, guys, we got the next chapter here. This one is going to be great. It's the effortless way, chapter 14, but we are going to get into that in the next video. Let me give you a brief recap here of what we want to cover, which was very important, which is whenever you become completely absorbed in an emotional state, you are at that moment assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And if you persist in that, whatsoever you are intensely emotional about, you will experience that in your world. So exactly what we just went over. Do not become emotionally charged about things you don't want in your life, and look at it that way. When something bad happens and you react to it, just think of that. Be like, do I want more of this in my life? And if you answer no to that, then do not have absorbed attention on that. Totally break yourself free from that by getting into gratitude, by focusing your attention on something that you do want to happen. And if I had to suggest something, I would say check out the Gratitude Crash Course in Neville book. The link is in the description below. That's just one of the courses we offer in there. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to give me one thing you guys are grateful for. I love you guys very much.